Hi, if you can see me on replay. Welcome. Thank you for watching the replay. As you all know, I think you're getting the worst of both worlds, but I'm happy that you're here, so I appreciate you.
The worst of both worlds.
It is. It's like not an edited video, and you're not in the live interactions, so.
But it's so much more predictable. It's more fun.
You gotta just turn the chaos off and come back. You can come back.
Sorry, spouse was like, I have an announcement. I was like, oh, that's nice. Okay. Why would you tell me this right now?
No, it's fine. So
we're fine.
We are here to discuss the ill-fated Rock Chick read along. We actually got all of our hosts together, so that's exciting. Yeah, I'm glad that you're all here. I'm glad that you all agreed to do this with me. And then I feel like every part of this read along, from conception to cancellation, was unanimous. We were just all like, yes. Yeah. We all agree. We're on the same page. So why don't we real quick go ahead and introduce yourselves in case someone doesn't know, and then we will get into the books, starting with Shay and ending with Megan.
Okay, you've officially decided how it's gonna go.
That's
so
correct.
I'm Shay from
not
Shay
like the chaos.
It's true, she doesn't. I'm Shay from Shay Geeks Out. I read manga and romance and lots of other things as well. This was my first time reading Rock Chick, but not my first time reading Kristen Ashley. So I think that's something I should caveat with, since this was about Rock Chick.
I'm Steph from the Novelty Corner. I also read a random assortment of things on a weekly basis. And this was not my first Kristen Ashley. I think I've read 3 other books at this point, all on Heather's recommendation. But yeah, first time reading Rock Chick.
Okay, I guess it's my turn. Gross. Hello, I'm Izzy or Isabel from Happy for Now. Talk about romance books, talk about the happenings in Romancelandia, talk about manga, all the things I read. Take you on my crazy life. I don't know. I feel like I just randomly like, boo, I'm in a place, and then I leave said place. This is my favorite Kristen Ashley series, currently still. I'm going to finish my reread. That does not mean that I recommend people read the series, though, now that as we've like learned more about it, and obviously are in different places than we were when originally reading it in 2013 and 2019 and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. I have a really sweet spot for it. It was one of those books that got me through a lot of things. So it's always going to have a nostalgia for me, but yeah, no.
I'm Robin from Paperbacks and Planners. I read mostly romance, some fantasy thrillers. I haven't been posting videos, but I will eventually post them again. This was actually my first Kristen Ashley book. So
yeah, mistakes were made. We should have read some of those other recommendations first.
Whoops.
Hi, I'm Megan or Meowth Vader. I only appear on live shows and I get bullied by random people for not posting videos.
I hope you are ready for the call out in Romancelandia for this.
How dare you call us
You think
randos?
that Morgan did not tell me that, like, I was in your Romancelandia and I went to go check because I wanted to see May, and then I get called out and I'm like, really? I go for May and I get called out by Izzy. I see how it is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, hi. I read mostly romance and manga, and I'm a ghost on the internet. So unless I am in a live show, you most likely will not see me. Ooh.
But I hope we do soon.
You can hope. It might happen. It always might happen.
Right.
Megan, do you need to hold your hand while you do this?
Yeah.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
And Megan, you also have read Rock Chick before, right?
I have. I read all of them before. But I don't absorb certain things that I read because I have a master's degree in communications. So if I have to put my brain on, I find everything that could possibly be wrong with a book, and I don't enjoy that.
Sure.
I think too, like when it's an author like Chris and Ashley, like the three of us have read a good bit. Sometimes you just don't catch things
Right.
until maybe the third time through, unfortunately.
Like
I
have,
But also, I think
this is one of those ones that I read before I wrote reviews and everything, before I started my channel. And for sure, writing reviews, writing notes, and then speaking about it in a video has greatly increased my memory for books and what happened in them and all of that. Because before, well, I would for sure notice things while I was reading. All I've really got is a general feeling, if I even remember having read the book, like even if I recognize that I even read the book, all I have just have a general feeling. And my general feeling for Rock Chick has always been it's ridiculous, over the top, and a little bit problematic. Like, not one that I'm widely recommending. It's definitely a recommendation with an asterisk beside it. Even when I did the announcement video for this read along, if you all watched it, which it doesn't matter if you didn't, but in that I was like, I don't really know that you all should read it. Like, I'm not really trying to get everyone to read this series. I just thought it would be fun to discuss, and instead of discussing in a group chat, we just happened to decide to do videos for it, right? But at the time, I was already like, look, like a lot of you, I'm not even trying to talk you into reading it because you're going to hate it. And that was obviously before I reread the first couple books, which I am the only one that reread Rock Chick Rescue, right? No one got to it. So,
because we canceled it, so I was like, I'm
Right.
Yeah, we canceled,
right
and I
now.
was like,
Exactly.
oh well, one less thing to read, and then I
Right.
went back to Nalini Singh.
Right. So when we read book 1, I think we were all kind of like,
Yeah.
not the best, but it gets better from here, and you can see kind of the beginnings of everything. But then with this one, obviously, again, I think most of you probably watched my video if you are here in the chat or in the hosting, but there was so many uses of a slur for Mexican Americans, and the hero was Mexican American, and the main character was white, and she kept repeating the slur, which honestly is one of the things that bugged me the most, because I understand that when you're writing terrible characters, they're going to do terrible things, and that doesn't mean that you are condoning that or any of those things, obviously. But I just found it really weird, really weird how much that slur was in this book, especially because it's not a heavy-hitting book when it comes to that. Like, your villain is a criminal and a rapist and a racist. You can communicate all of that without the slur, honestly. And especially, again, I feel like I wouldn't have even argued as much, although it still would have icked me out a little bit. I don't feel I would have argued as much if it had only been one occasion, one use, but it wasn't at all. So that's, the biggest thing on why, and I don't even want to say it's the biggest thing on why we're canceling, because I don't think that the future books necessarily are going to continue using a lot of slurs for their villains, but we do have at least 2 more, if not more, heroes that are different ethnicities, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is brought up as
I'm pretty sure. I'm like trying to remember what's in Vance's book, but I wouldn't be surprised if his book also includes a lot of that.
right.
Which I hate because Vance is one of my favorite characters, and that's why I love that book.
Right.
But yeah.
How old is this series? Like when? Like 2010?
Rock Chick Rescue was 2009.
2009. Okay.
This
Yeah.
book, the second book, was 2009.
Yeah, so it started in the early aughts.
Yeah.
It's old. Like,
Yeah.
it's something you couldn't. I can revisit it and view it in the lens of like how old it is, and like
Yeah.
what was the world like back then.
Yeah. Where we were at in 2009
very different
versus,
than where we are today in 2024, which I think helps, like, keeping this my nostalgia for it is because of that. Like, I know it's old. It's like when I pick up an 80s romance, like, I know, like, I know what I'm walking into with an 80s.
And that's like me when I pick up an early Christine Feehan. Like, they are full of problems and alpha males doing alpha male things. So, like, when I read a Kristen Ashley, I expect an alpha male because that's been my experience with her.
Right.
And I went in expecting that with this series and things like that. But
I think that was the most jarring thing because I haven't read Kristen Ashley before. The dubious consent in book 1 where he's
oh my gosh, yeah.
trying to kiss her and she's like, please don't. And he just keeps doing it. And I was like, what is happening?
And that was the thing in earlier romances. Like, a lot of the early Feehans have a lot of those early consent issues.
And it's not even consent issues, so it is, but it's not even consent issues so much. It's like the thing of writing main characters who are actively saying the opposite of what they feel.
Yeah.
Which is like such a problem. Like, I don't know, it like really can cause issues.
Yeah, it was very bizarre, especially because I didn't start reading romance until like 2018, 2017. And so to like go back and read like a 2008, I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Christine Feehan and her alpha males got me through my toxic first marriage. So that should tell you something.
Right. And I
think I read like classic Nalini Singh, which is, I mean, but this one definitely I feel like I noticed it more in this one than
it's really blatant in Kristen Ashley's writing.
Yeah.
Like it's really blatant.
Because like, and I think for some things I can easily look past things, especially in like a fantasy setting. I am a way more because I'm just like, they're not real people. Like they're half werewolf. Like, I don't know.
Right.
Heather, has she ever wrote like a softer hero? Like, they've all been pretty alpha male, haven't they?
My opinion is always that the hookup or maybe even Quiet Man are probably some of her most tolerable heroes. They're still very much alpha though, but she does have a range. Some of her alpha heroes are extreme,
Oh, completely.
And then there are some where it's like he's alpha, but also I don't know. I could be in the same room with him and not be like red flags are flying.
Yeah.
But yes, those are even though
I was gonna say, I would still say the hookup, he's an alpha completely.
Oh, for sure he is. But
if that's her version of a soft hero, like
if you read the hookup and you can't stand how alpha he is,
you're not gonna like her writing.
Not for you. You're not gonna like a single one of her heroes. Like that's you're just really not.
Maybe I'll have to try it.
I think you'd like the hookup.
Yeah.
I've never read the hookup.
Bree liked the hookup, and Bree doesn't even like alpha heroes like that. So I feel like if Bree could tolerate that one, it's the safe option for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good starting point.
Yeah. Getting back to Rock Chick, though, I think another thing that didn't age well with the series is the whole like cop detective situation that we've got going on.
Is wild.
It's wild.
So many
it's so wild. Like, even in the first book, like
yes. Well, it literally opens the book in the first book with how she has cop daughter karma. And I was like, what is that? Like, what are you saying? And every cop is hot, and they're all good, and they're all, the best, and they're a found family.
There's a lot. I know that I think Hank's book has a lot more like cops are good because he's like
because he's legit a cop.
Yeah, because he's legit a like lawful.
Well, so is Eddie.
Yeah,
but
Eddie also though
the line is what they.
Yeah, but it's still. I feel like his book. I mean, from what I remember, I still feel like was pretty propaganda heavy.
I mean, all
Like
of her
knowing
books,
what we know now, especially.
all of her books are going to be pro biker and cops are good, which is really interesting with that dichotomy. But
Well, she has a bunch of books where she does have a villain be a cop, right? But she always balances that out with also some good cops. I don't think she's ever had one where every like, a cab. I don't think she's ever had that.
No,
Yeah,
I agree.
no.
But at the same time, like the reading that really didn't age well either.
No,
Mm-mm.
for sure.
Yeah, it definitely was very jarring.
Yeah.
With 2024 goggles.
Yes.
Yeah, in the year of our Lord 2024,
Right.
this did not age
Yeah.
well at all.
It
Yeah.
was also interesting to read this, which featured cops versus like criminal intentions,
Right.
which features cops, and like the difference between those two discussions.
Oh yeah.
was
Wildly different.
vastly different, yes.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking
I mean,
about
I
her
feel like
Colorado Mountain Men series, and Breathe is about a cop, and even though there were bad cops in it, it is still very much a like, he's a good cop, and here's all the good cops, and here's the good things that cops do.
Right.
Yeah.
It's I'm literally coming off reading a crime book last night, which has a police detective as the main character, but it's an Australian one, so it's still
Not as
not
bad.
great, but different context.
Yeah.
But it's interesting when you read a crime novel or a mystery novel with cop protagonists and romances, because you don't get the same level of romanticization of
I
it,
was gonna say there's like a fetish almost romance, like
which is really interesting.
Men in
romanticizing
uniform.
of cops
Right.
Yeah.
and men in uniform that really isn't healthy. It's not good.
No.
Not at all.
So yeah.
Yeah, whereas
Yeah,
like a
and-
thriller or something, like you don't get that. It's just like they're just a character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that it's more for the access that they're
yeah.
And I
I
Right.
mean,
think
it's like even at the this a lot of the serial killer books and stuff are heavy propaganda too in a weird way.
oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because there's always the one or two cop that's like good enough to almost catch them, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
But also like he's better than the cops because he's doing the job they can't do in a weird. You're just like, wait, what? So you're a serial killer cop? Like I don't understand.
And I do find it interesting as well with how heavily domestic abuse and like past domestic abuse and sexual abuse and stuff plays into romance books. Like you can't go 5 main characters without at least a couple of them having that in their backstory, right?
Mhm.
And then, but none of the cops have ever been a perpetrator. And it's like, that's just not even kind of accurate. Like that's
Statistics.
clearly like a romanticization. It's like clearly propaganda, literally, that you can have these huge romance subgenres and all of the cops are desirable, right? They're all good partners.
Mm-hmm.
I think the interesting thing is like we can place this book in context of when it was written and go, okay, we
Yeah.
don't have we weren't having the same conversations in 2009
Right.
about the police as we are now.
Right.
Mhm.
I
But
also think
the problem, I was going to say, the problem is we're still getting books with characters like this.
Still, yeah.
Yes.
I would say also at 2008, we're post, 9/11, and we were still having that like whole hero worship
Yeah.
thing at that time.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I did like have that in the back of my mind as I was
Also,
reading it. But like Steph said, I think part of the problem it still happens.
right. I don't know that this is accurate, but I've always kind of assumed a little bit based on Kristen Ashley's writing that she does have family members that are in law
Yeah.
enforcement.
I would
But
believe that.
I would
again,
believe it.
though, Cole McKay does too.
He
And
does.
that's part of their analysis of it in their
Yeah.
series. So it's not, completely an excuse either.
Yeah, and Cole McCade has talked multiple times about like having those discussions and having that insight
Mhm.
and like as being part of the reason why they wrote that book.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I also have people that I am related to that are cops. So I'm not like I'm not saying that there's never ever been a good person who was a cop, but I think that you can be like, well, I'm not directly attacking you as a family member, although if I knew of something that you did, you wouldn't get a pass for me. But at the same time, I can be like completely not okay with the institution. Period. Like, I don't need to try and justify anything. Like, it's bad.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
Speaking of, as you hear sirens go by.
I live right by a hospital.
I get you. I live by a fire department, so
I have a fire department right there and a hospital right there. So lots.
It's okay. I have all three within a street.
Right.
But yeah, I like you said, Heather, I think there can be the characters and there can be discussions, and then there's a difference between that and then being like, look at how great being a cop's daughter is, and
Right.
how
There,
great these cops are.
there is some pushback, I think, later in the series. So far, no pushback at all. We are 100% cops are amazing.
Is there pushback in the spinoff series? I can't remember now.
there's more pushback in Colorado Mountain Men because like a whole subplot is the corrupt police department.
Right.
Mhm.
And then
There's
I'm trying
some
to
pushback.
I felt like that one, the spinoff, the Rock Chick spinoff that we got had
The
the
some.
Dream
Mystery
Team?
Men or the Dream one? The Dream Man or the
No,
It's Dream Team.
Dream Team.
Yes, but that's partially because all of the main characters are strippers, and
Yeah.
then all of the heroes are commandos, so they don't really like the law all that much.
Yeah.
yeah,
I
but
was gonna say
even
though.
in the
Even
Dream
though they're-
Man spinoff, one of them is a cop. Two of them are cops, and that's in
Okay,
that
I couldn't
spinoff
because I've
too.
never
Oh,
finished
wow.
Dream Team.
Oh, the
Yeah,
Dream
they're-
Man.
Dream Man.
Dream Man.
Yeah.
Dream
Okay.
Man.
You're right.
I was like, I just read those. I know that they're
Right.
cops.
Yeah. No, that's the
Sorry, I
one.
thought you were
where-
saying Dream Team, and I was confused. That was
That's
on me.
another
Yeah.
one where the first main character, all of the future heroes first have a thing for her, and then they find their one.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. So
Although I will say that the premise of that first book spinoff, where she just doesn't know that this dude's name at all, crazy.
I still don't understand that book. I've read it more than one time, and I'm still just like, I don't get it. I don't really know what's happening.
But that's neither here nor there. One thing I guess about circling back to Rock Chicks, that I'm trying to like dig through my brain of things from Kristen Ashley because I've been reading a decent chunk of her books from different series. She does talk about race a lot for
She does.
she's a white woman, isn't she?
She certainly is.
Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure she's like a white woman.
Yeah.
And because she always has her main characters, at least a couple of them are people of color.
Yeah, always. She doesn't have any group of people that's all white.
Yeah.
In any
Which
of
like
the
is
series.
Honestly impressive considering how old some of her
Yeah.
series are.
Yeah.
Right.
but
And how many
also when she
books she
starts
has.
writing their books is where it's like
That's where it becomes an issue. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be. So, the end of this series is 2 novellas, and both are Black love. They're not Black romance because she's not a Black author or anything,
Yeah.
but both of them, the main character and the love interest, are both Black. I've read the first one. I haven't read the one that just came out.
I've
in
read
January.
Charlene's, but I have not read
Charlene's. I haven't read
I haven't.
Darius's.
same.
Which when I realized that it was Darius's book, that's when I actually posted on my Instagram stories and was like, if you're on a book, a couple far into a series, and it's written by a white author, and they have a love interest, do you want it to be interracial for it to be like more in their wheelhouse to even be writing that? Or are you okay, depending on if you have like, you know, these side characters and now they're getting their story and they don't do interracial so as to have a white character.
So my thoughts on that in this day and age is authors are so connected to each other. She has to have at least one friend that is Black writing romance at this point. So she can have them or someone else they know fact check it, read it, make sure there's nothing offensive to the community in it before it's published. Like in this day and age, that's not hard to do. You could even go out there and say, hey,
I mean, she should be hiring sensitivity readers in this day and age.
Agreed. I was like, Opal Rain on
friend.
Anytime Opal Rain writes something outside her wheelhouse, she's on the Discord saying, hey, I'm writing this. I need sensitivity readers. Who's willing? And all that kind of stuff. Because her most recent release in her Duskwalker series is actually male. Right. So that's not her, obviously. So she's like, I need people to read this. Who's willing? Who can? Who has this representation? I want to make sure I get it right. So in this day and age, it's not hard to find sensitivity readers to make sure you've done it right. So that's why I struggle when an author is coming out here and doing all sorts of bad when if they're writing outside their wheelhouse, there's plenty of people they can talk to.
Yeah, I was like thinking about this series, who all the men were, because we have Mace, who's Hawaiian, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Vance, who's Native American.
Eddie is Mexican
American. Eddie, and so is his brother, and they both have books.
You're right. Yeah, I forgot about his brother.
Yeah, Darius has a book, but he was a big character throughout the whole thing.
He's been a character since book 1, right?
Yeah, and Charlene's been a character since book 3. Yeah,
she was in this one.
I think about something like I heard when I was at Steamula and stuff, like Nana Malone was talking about when Sierra Simone wrote Sinner. She literally would like go to Nana and different people she was friends with and be like, hey, blah, blah, blah product. They were like, what product are you even talking about? Because she just used the internet to watch videos, do research on hair care, like all of those things. Like, I think it depends on how much care an author takes. Like at the end of the day, like I need to know that you did research. I need to know that one, I see you interacting with people of the identity you're writing, like other authors, promoting. Like Katie Robert does it all the time. She promotes, authors with identities of characters in her books too. Like it all, you know what I mean? You can see that that's like the world somebody lives in, and it's not just like a oh shit, I wrote this character, now I have to write this Black Love book. And oh shit, I don't, I'm not.
I just don't know if back in the early aughts she would have been like going out her way to do that with so many different.
The thing I think about Kristen Ashley, again, she had a drag queen in this first book. She had multiple side characters of color. She has clearly always been kind of
she writes diverse characters. She's
been one who's always tried to be inclusive, which I appreciate.
I feel like she has a very traditional romance audience in a lot of ways, right? I always kind of view her audience as middle-aged white women, like that's what who I assume she's writing for. And quite frankly, you often do better in that demographic if you don't include a lot of this stuff. And she clearly does care about it. But again, she put on her Instagram that she reread the entire Rock Chick series last year for writing the spinoff. So if you're rereading it again with 2023 eyes, I feel like if you are truly in those progressive spaces, those leftist spaces, if you are an ally, all of the things, whatever, that some of those things are jumping out at you, and you would want to rectify it truly.
And
or at least address.
And there's so many authors who've done that and gone back and fixed little things. I mean, even Chloe Lease did it with her first book right before everything got picked up and she started doing audiobooks. She was like, oh, I messed up. I fixed it. There you go. You book.
I know lots of authors who have. I
didn't realize she'd revisited it, to be honest with you.
Yes.
That makes me...
Because she was doing the spinoff series. The second generation series, and she said back when she was writing these, she didn't have her like character Bibles the way she does now. Now she writes down all of her facts and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I
she
do
had to do
wonder.
it.
Well, no, she owns these. These are all self-pubbed. Never mind. She can change them and update them.
Right.
Because I had a moment where I was like, are these not self? Because I know when
Yeah.
it's a traditionally published book, it's a lot more
Right.
to fix and
Could be a
adjust and
problem.
change, right? These are self-pubbed. So when she revisited book 2,
You can change
she
anything
should have
you want.
edited a lot of that slur out.
Right.
Yeah.
And I got a comment.
And that makes
being
you think, did she?
Mhm.
And we're just reading older copies.
well, it's the
But
ebook
you get it.
library.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was like,
I didn't read
Heather
it,
reads
though.
ebooks. Heather reads ebooks, so
Yeah.
what was I gonna say? I don't know. But like authors do it. I know I like to use her as an example, but Jessica Gaziella, who writes very similar books, she writes romantic suspense. In fact, the way that I found Jessica's books was I was on Goodreads. I had read a lot of Kristen Ashley and I wanted like more in the similar vein, but I didn't want to just keep reading only her books. And there was a Goodreads list of books like Kristen Ashley, and Jessica's book was on there, and I picked it up and read it and read a few dozen after that. But like for instance, she wrote the G slur in one of her books, not knowing that it was a slur. Someone told her, and she edited the ebook like that day. Like it was instant, And she's actually mentioned many times. In fact, she's in the comments under the Rock Chick Rescue video because she has also read Kristen Ashley and everything. But she has mentioned many times on many of my videos and stuff because we're mutuals. Again, because I was obsessed with her books and was like, hey. But that when she finds out something or somebody, tells her anything or she finds out in her own research, like she's going to fix that. She's not going to just keep it as her body of work, as a representation of what she believes in, And she is also another white author who has many BIPOC characters because, again, she has massive series and she's not going to have like 30 plus where everybody was white and straight and cis and, all of this. But it's never, I think she has such a good balance of it. Is never, I'm here to give you this identity, to give you this representation, to be the voice for the voiceless. It's always just, hey, this character deals with stuff because of their identity, and it's like a 1 or 2 sentence kind of summary, of course I have to deal with racism or ableism or whatever it is, or they're non-binary, so you don't ask what's in their pants or who they're sleeping with, and they're like, so like you would everyone else, like why would you do that? It's like little tiny sentences like that where it's like, hey, this representation is here and it matters, and I'm not going to try and give you a deep dive 101 lesson on everything that they go through and why, I don't know, you should view them as human. It's just like I
She's just
really
like
feel like,
representative of the real world.
yeah,
Yeah.
I really feel like some
Interact with these
authors,
communities.
though,
You have people.
I think it
But
can
it's
be very white saviory, where it's like, I'm here to write this character for you. And it's like, there are so many authors of any identity, right? There are so many authors writing like
I
that
think
are
we
from
get
that
that a
identity.
lot. I feel like we're getting that a lot too as people like these self-pubbed authors are being picked up by publishers, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're seeing a lot of white authors writing BIPOC characters,
Yeah.
and they're like, well, someone needs to write these stories, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, they
they
are.
do.
One is.
Instead
And
of writing the characters, like lift the authors.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's the thing about publishing. They want diversity at the smallest level.
The most
Right.
surface level.
They
They
want
want it to be the most palatable to the largest
Right.
audience.
They love a white author who is married to someone with an ethnic name, last name. They love someone who is the child of immigrants, but not actual immigrant authors. And that's not to discount them at all, but they love to have BIPOC characters written by white authors. They love to have BIPOC characters that the only discernible part of their heritage is that you mentioned their glowing brown skin. Like you know, they don't want a lot of anything. They want it to be very bland and, like you said, palatable. So if you are a white author writing outside of your own identity, I think you have to be really careful, especially when it comes to publishing deals. I think you have to be really careful about the fact that you are being the one chosen to be published, and you're not the one that should be picked for that. Yeah. It's a different thing, I think, to do self-publishing. And again, like it's all a case-by-case basis. But like, I don't know. I just don't think that you should be getting published to write characters when those authors can't be published to write those characters.
Like Izzy said, I think if you're going through these like 16, 20 book series, there is a lot of care that the author then needs to have if they want to have a book focusing around other characters that you have written in there. I think there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that needs to happen in order for that book to be good.
Right.
Also, how many authors now do the like multi-universe spin-off thing where like different authors write in that world?
So, yeah. I mean,
there's another opportunity to do something like that. Even be like, here's the character Bible for these two. Like, here's the stuff. Here's everything that's happened. Do you want to,
right?
Do you want to write this and offer it up to another indie Black authors who write these two novellas?
There's all of those like monster ones and alien ones and college ones and things.
I mean, I think Penny Reed and Corinne Michaels kicked that trend off, kind of.
The Smarty.
I know Saxon James does them all the time too, where she's like one of 10 authors that writes a book in a series.
Yeah. Aurora Rose Reynolds is someone I always think about for that. She has a ton of authors writing books for her side characters.
Yeah.
Now, none of it's very good. None of it's very good, but she does it.
Yeah. But some of them are like really successful. I mean, even Amazon just did one where it was like how many, contemporary authors that wrote about characters.
I'm like 2 books into that series.
Which series?
The Improbable Meet Cute. It's like Abby Jimenez, Sally Thorne.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
They're advertising the crap out of it.
I remember seeing the advertisements.
Yeah.
You can't read Amazon without
My Mortal Enemy is in there, though, so I don't know if I want to read that book.
What is that one? What?
They're all under 100 pages.
I know. I'll read it, and then I'll complain. I'm not going to say it out loud.
Yeah, text me because I'm like, which mortal enemy are we talking about here?
There's so many.
There are. It's just me.
There's a reason why she starts her videos.
Someone started to say it out loud. I'm just saying she wrote real people fic, basically. And
that's icky. Real people fic is icky.
And it got trad by Amazon. So she's...
Ew, really? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I read The Fixer and The Ghost instead of Rock Chicks. So
look at you.
And I'm part of the way through The Messenger, and I hate that it keeps going backwards in time. I find that that one slogged me because I'm just like, can we not? I get it.
Yeah.
The pining, I get it. I got it through the first 2 books.
I definitely like everything to be in the current timeline for me. But
the jumps just feel pointless to me, so I'm literally just like, I don't understand.
I don't even remember the jumps. Like, I couldn't tell you.
Depends on the point of time jumps.
Yeah.
As sad as like canceling something is, though, I'm always pro DNFing anything.
Oh, same.
So,
right.
I mean, we did this with the queen of DNFing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
You
I
really
keep trying to do it the
that
opposite way. I should
find it
figure out my
funny that
hands.
the one series that we're doing on your channel exclusively is the one series that we've just DNF'd.
Okay, but we did birth a good idea out of this.
Yeah.
For an occasional book club in which a bunch of us get together and talk about a book we all loved.
Yeah. And like Heather said, none of us exactly put up a fight. She was like, what if we stopped? And all of us were like, okay.
Yeah. Look,
Sure.
I no longer have book clubs now, so I'm just going to cease to exist as a person.
That's not true.
No, you're not. You have a new job, and it's reading things aloud for Landia.
My new job is Izzy going, here's a script, read it.
Yeah. I already told May too. I was like, you two are enlisted.
It's fine.
I no longer have to read things aloud.
I re-downloaded Audacity just to make sure that like the recording was a decent quality.
Meanwhile, May just sent me a voice note.
I assumed. I was like, I could just do that, but like, it's fine. I have my nice mic. I have my like nice desktop computer that I use to edit things, and I haven't edited anyway. So check out Romance Landia this week, y'all.
Always do. Always do.
This is good to know, though, since this was my first Kristen Ashley book. I feel like I need to read something else.
I have.
Thank you, Morgan.
I think you should start with the hookup, and then from there we can help you branch out.
Tell me when you start the hookup, and I will start it with you because I've never read that one.
I think
really.
Start with
I started with the Colorado Mountain Men series.
I was just saying, The Gamble was my first Kristen.
I still like The Gamble.
That's my second starting place that I tell people. I have a whole Kristen Ashley guide, and I remember
she does. It's on her channel.
I think most people do start with Rock Chick, and I don't recommend that. And then I led Robin right into it by accident. But
the funny thing is I could have sworn I read one, but then I realized that I had asked Megan for a recommendation, and I had added it to my TBR and never actually read it. So
that's fair.
I
also have trash recommendations. That's why Heather calls me a trash panda. So
to be fair, I just said your taste was trash, and you started calling yourself a trash panda, and it's lived on for like 3 years now. So, I will say what I remember about the Rock Chick series is having like problems with things that happen in later books. I did not remember any of this stuff at the beginning.
Listen, I remember having problems in later books too. So that's what I think it pushed out all of this. I still just, I love how over the top it is. And that's why I enjoy the series so much. Is the book I might have stayed up, I'm almost done with it. I stayed up way too late last night reading. Also over the top. Is it good? I don't know if it's good. But like,
Texas is still one of my favorite characters because Tex is ridiculous.
Yes.
But like, she brings together such a cast of characters.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And in a time where we weren't getting nearly the diversity or anything in it. But it's just like, it's so over the top and ridiculous in a way that like, it's almost like reading a Harlequin that's 200 pages from the suspense line, like Pregnesia, like that one or something, like one of the bonkers ones that I love. It's like that, but like a little bit longer. And I think that's why I eat them up.
But you know what's interesting is that I actually really enjoyed the prequel novella. And I like sort of the tone and the pace of that. And we know, and that one came out.
Now she wrote the prequel novella a lot later, right?
Yeah. She wrote it, and it's after most of the books, I think.
Yeah.
So you can tell that there's been some. I mean, I know they're two different formats in terms of it's a much shorter story, but you can tell there's been development in terms of what she includes in her stories
and just her writing in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I really enjoyed that one until the epilogue.
And the thing is, I think that Kristen Ashley is either really readable for you or she's not. And if she is really readable for you, I read all of her books in a day. It doesn't matter if it's a 400 or a 600 page one. I read them all in a day. Every one of her releases basically.
They are hard to put down. Like,
I'm reading
that
it
is legitimately a thing.
Even
like,
even the ones where I'm like, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
It's still kind of a overall good experience, even for the ones that I'm like, oh, why?
Yeah.
I definitely
when I was the audiobooks, like
I was to say, when I was out in Tennessee, Izzy and I listened to it on our drive back and forth to May.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where we got to the halfway point when we got to Kentucky, and we're like, I kind of want to keep going.
Right.
We sat in my car for like 15, 20 minutes just to finish one of them.
Yeah.
Because I was like, we're almost done, and I don't know where else to drive you around to, so we're just going to sit here.
Right.
It was the novella.
It was, yeah, but like we were almost done, and we just were like, let's finish it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And again, like, I think that it's perfectly okay, not talking about the slurs, just talking about Kristen Ashley's writing in general. It's perfectly okay to have problematic favorites, right? Like, I'm like, this man maybe doesn't deserve rights, but I would die for him. Like,
Right.
okay, like I'm a fan.
It's like it's so funny to me because a lot of people love like their serial killer heroes. And I'm like,
Right.
these are awful human beings, but you want to protect them like they're a small
Right.
child because you
Yeah.
love them so much. Like,
Right.
it's kind of a similar thing,
Right.
You also are
Exactly
fully
right.
aware that they are not real.
except they're not serial killers.
Right.
Yeah.
For people who like real life serial killers, like no.
No.
People who like
Yeah.
fake ones that you are fully aware are not real people.
It's
Right.
how I
And
feel
not
about
really out in
reading
the world
Nalini
killing
Singh.
people.
It's how I feel about reading Nalini Singh books. Like, I am so invested in
Oh my gosh. I
the
love them
Guild
so much.
Hunters series. Even the books that I don't like, I'm just like,
Yep.
these characters are a mess. This guy, like, he doesn't deserve rights. But I'm here for it every single time.
Right.
Even when
Quite
he gives it 3 stars.
destroying the world, but hey, that's fine.
Yeah, right?
Exactly.
Like, you're all messed
My
up.
favorite Nalani Singh definitely does not have a hero that would just mow everyone down for her. No, never, not me.
Never.
Never.
And so, like,
But
I
I-
definitely think, yeah, like, you can have those problematic favorites. I think it becomes more important for how you talk about them in a, like, I don't know, recommendation public
Yeah.
In a
way.
public platform situation.
Yeah, public
Also-
platform. Thank you, Shay. I was like, what's the word?
I'm like, the words are here. I shall help.
I also think it's just very important to be able to acknowledge the flaws in your faves
Oh no.
product.
Like,
Yeah,
I tell
right.
people straight up, I'm like, if you don't like an alpha hero, Christine Feehan will never be
Right.
for you. Do not
Yeah.
try.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that is just who she is.
right.
Like, there's one or two where they're not alphas, and I thrive in those.
right.
But at the same time, give me a good alpha who will die for the heroine and almost that morality chain situation. Even morality chain ones, like, give them to me, please. I love them.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No. I mean, like none of that is confusing to me. You know, it's just like
But I will tell you straight up that that's what's going on.
right.
So
Yeah.
that
It's like
you
if
know before you go into this book.
if
It's like,
you
yes, I
hate
love
this-
this, but
right. If you hate it, I understand. I get it.
Mhm.
But I'm over here loving it.
Oh yeah, Megan, I love Lothair. Yes, I love Lothair as well. Yes,
Right.
yes, I do.
I think most
That's the whole, I said it was my favorite. I didn't say it was good.
right.
Mhm. Well, that's so objective, like subjective. It's not,
Yeah.
you know.
And also, again, like it can be part of the escape to be like, I would never condone this. Anyone, I would never condone any of this. But in my book, you know, I am having an amazing time as
Mhm.
we go through this ridiculous over the top storyline and like very dramatized interactions and fights and sex scenes, what have you, you know, where it's like, this is iffy, but but also it's just a story. I think all of that's reasonable.
I think it's just important how you talk about it, and
Exactly.
I think particularly when you start thinking about your favorite books from, you know, the last 20 years, there's always going to be something problematic in a book. There's probably going to be an author who's done something in the last 20 years that you just then go, oh, okay. And it's just how you talk about that, because it doesn't change the value in something that you enjoyed in the past or you have nostalgia attached to it, which I think gets confused in a lot of discussions now, is that you'll outright go, no, this thing is bad, so you can't feel this way about it. I don't care if you like something that I have an issue with,
Right.
but how you talk about it matters.
Right.
Mhm.
I totally agree.
Yeah. And for so many things too, it's like, are you putting this thing that you genuinely enjoy, and that's completely fine that you have the enjoyment and this nostalgia for it, but are you putting your value of that thing over the well-being of other people right now? You know, I think
Mhm.
obviously the go-to example is Harry
Harry
Potter.
Potter.
Everybody knows that example.
My
Everyone,
will to hold back just copying J.K.
yeah,
Rowling.
we immediately jump to it, right?
I just think of Kiara Lewis right now, who's getting people to
Right.
pick that series up again, you know,
Right, exactly.
because
And
she's
that's where
sobbing on the internet about
it's
it.
a problem. It's a problem. I don't care if you rewatch or reread in the privacy of your home, but why are you using your platform? One, why are you jumping into it if you're not already a fan? You don't even have that nostalgia. Like, you're living your life perfectly fine, having never been
To
part
be
of that
able to read
problematic.
the 800-page fanfic called Manacled, soon to be published as Alchemized, that you could just read without
Right.
the context of that world, and it'd be fine. Also, I don't think you need the context of the world to read
Right.
Manacled, probably.
But also, if you're jumping into that series now, when there are so many other middle grade fantasy books that are incredibly well written,
Yeah.
above the standard of Harry Potter, like Harry, for its time, when it came, like same thing, context is everything. When it came out, absolutely, there wasn't anything that existed in the space.
It
Yeah.
was,
That
I mean, a
quite
whole
like,
generation became readers
it
because
was
of
a
it. So, like, you
phenomenon.
can't deny that it
But-
played a part.
but we're not
But
in that
now,
time now.
yeah.
So that, like, there are so many other places that you can go if you want to get that kind of story.
Right.
Mhm.
And
That will give you
also, if you have any sort of awareness of J.K. Rowling as a person, you know that if you are doing Harry Potter content, you are actively harming / not a safe space for trans people, right? You know that. So again, it's like you are actively choosing a product over people. You are. um so
Hmm.
I guess it's one of those things where it's like, it would be weird to me to argue with someone for Taylor Swift or for Kristen Ashley or for whatever, but let's use Taylor Swift as an example. It's weird to me as someone who genuinely is a fan of Taylor Swift, right? Watching fellow Swifties do racisms and like just the weirdest, most awful things in the name of Taylor Swift. And it's just like, well, no. Like, I'm not with you. I'm
Well,
not getting over that. I'm not arguing with a black woman over how Taylor Swift is actually not white mediocrity. I am not doing that. You are welcome to that opinion. I understand why you might very well feel that way legitimately, right?
Well,
But
it's interesting you say that, because like, as we were starting the live, I was just finishing a conversation with Evie Mitchell around Taylor Swift and sort of a lot of the conversations around her at the moment.
right.
And it's really easy to write her off in a particular light because of the hype. But what people are like, that conversation, any conversation around Taylor Swift is not just about Taylor Swift, but people are making it about her because she's a successful woman. Whereas if you dig underneath it, it's actually layers and layers of misogyny and patriarchy and racism and whatever you want to layer it
And
as. It's all built
classism
in. It's
and
not one conversation, and it's not Taylor Swift. It's actually us
right.
collectively as a society. What do we place value on? What do we want to place the media value on? And in terms of it, because she's just been out here for the concerts, so it's been
Yeah.
massive. But we don't have those same conversations around any other artist, and
Right.
they all have the same problems that people bring up about Taylor Swift. You
Right.
just don't hear about it because she's in a completely different stratosphere at the moment.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And like,
For
and
sure.
like everyone said, like, it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to have had a favorite in a past and then later on been like, oh, okay, well, I still have a special place for this thing because I loved it. but I'm not going to keep promoting it. I'm not going to keep
Right.
talking about it. I'm
Mhm.
not going to keep recommending it. I'm not going to continue to read these things. It doesn't diminish the like impact that it had on you. And it's almost like nowadays if someone's like, you shouldn't be promoting that book, and they're like, but it was important to me. It's like, yeah, I acknowledge that. It's okay.
Right.
No one's trying to take that away from you. We should just probably not do it from here
Well,
forward.
in a lot of ways, it's a great way to talk about how we do change as readers over time, how we do recognize that things have changed and how our expectations and society have evolved and adapted over the last however many years, which if you don't even have that conversation, then you're not showing that, okay, yeah, these things were this way in one point, but now we've learned more, we've grown, we've got to this point.
Right. The one thing I do always find interesting with that point, simply because I talked about so much on my video and we've talked about so much in here, and you cannot divorce the age from something, right? It really is a product of its time. But I do always think about what were the authors of color, the indie Black authors, the indie Hispanic authors, what were the conversations they were having at this time? Because I find it hard to believe that they were like, and some of it was different. It was like they were doing workshops on how to write diversely for white authors and stuff, right? Like there was some difference in the conversation, but a lot of times we talk about how and again, I'm not saying that Kristen Ashley was racist in 2009 and now she's not. Again, I think she was trying to do something here and I think that it failed. But I think that it's hard to be like, well, white people were just racist back then. Like they didn't know any better. And like if you talk to a Black person from that same year, they would be like, yeah, no. No. You could actually believe that we were fully human.
I think,
you did. And,
yeah, no, people have always been up to no good in some extent. But I think our knowledge and availability to learn
yes,
has expanded immensely.
And I think our language has to, especially with our access to the internet and things like that. And now learning history of words and all of these discussions have come out there. Our language has just changed so dramatically.
Yeah.
Because even like I mentioned the G slur earlier, which it was actually Izzy who told me, not even directly, she said it in a video, that it was a slur and you shouldn't be using it after I was reading and loving and recommending an entire book series that had it in the title. Like I didn't know. And without the internet, I live in Pennsylvania, in Western Pennsylvania. My town is 99% white because of racism, not accidentally. Like I've never met a Romani person in my entire life, right? Like I wouldn't know that they didn't want you using that word. I would have no knowledge of that whatsoever without the internet.
Yeah.
And I would know the word from books, honestly,
People name their kids that. Like,
right.
Yeah.
That word, like, I mean, they're like all these things, and I mean, it's wild. Once you know and you see how many places you see it, you're like, oh my God.
In the US, it's very associated with hippie and free spirit.
And so many of the things get ingrained into our children's rhymes and like festivals and all of these things, and it becomes part of the language. And until you have access to these discussions, which a lot of people don't, if you live in a rural area, you might not have access to said information.
And I also think about too how the internet has changed things where in general people are having these conversations within their own communities. They're not just having them with random white people in the hopes that those random white people receive it well. That's just not a thing that's happening. And because of the internet, they are often making like instructive content with the hopes that some people will receive it and will learn from it. Whereas they're not going to take that chance on their coworker or on the random person on the street that can really affect their safety, right? Because you have so many instances where that goes incredibly poorly and makes your life so much harder. Why would you risk it just for that person to grow?
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
you are
especially with like words and things like that. Now, when I do see that stuff in books, I don't want to say take it more personal, but I definitely rate it harder because I'm like, that was a Google search.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was a simple Google search. Like this was
I literally today got someone who lives in France reacting to the Paris Olympics using a song with the N word in it, and then being like, that is not appropriate. And people in their comments were like, go home, American, like, get over yourself. And I was just like, I need y'all to go talk to Black people. But like, it's like that, like, a simple Google search will tell you why you shouldn't be like just throwing that word around in America or not. Perhaps it's not your place. But if I don't know the population there, like the breakdown fully, right? And I bet it's probably not
as
high
somebody
you
who
think.
watches European soccer, I can tell you that it is a big problem.
Oh, I'm
France-
not surprised. Like, I mean,
It is a big problem.
like, it's unsurprising.
Yeah.
But it's also still shocking that in 2024 people are like, get over yourself. It's not a big deal. And I'm like,
it's a big issue over there.
I also would be losing my mind if I went somewhere and I just heard people
right.
But dropping that. I'd be like, what did you just say?
Racism is only a problem in the US, if you didn't know. We're the only ones.
Yep, only us.
The Premier League
It's our lack of culture.
have had a lot of issues. And then after the World Cup, there were some more issues. So yeah, Western European countries have had problems.
I'm also just loving Steph's face as we're just like, yeah, it's only America.
It's just like,
I mean, obviously it's deep sarcasm here when it's only America.
Right. But it really is.
We're the only country that hasn't acknowledged our Indigenous folk in capacity.
Right.
I mean, we didn't do a good job. Let's be honest.
Right.
Really, don't learn from us.
We're not great at learning, but it really is one of those things where if you can't even admit that your society has a problem,
seriously,
you're so far away from progress.
I also think for me, if an author is going to come back and be like, here's why it's not a problem, that's where I start getting more itchy because there's so much information out there. If somebody's telling you that something is wrong,
why are
and
you
can't Google it and see, like,
but my friend who is this group doesn't say it's wrong, so it's
whereas
fine.
if you mess up and you put something in a book and then somebody calls it out and is like, hey, that wasn't like the right way. I think of the wheelchair user one with the blurb. Years ago.
Cora Riley.
Yeah.
Is that?
And I was just like, why did we have to triple down on this? Why couldn't you just say, you're right, I should change my language?
Right. Immediately off the TBR.
No, that's because the one friend checked it and said it was fine.
And that's exactly where I get that's where the line crosses. If you mess up and you put something in a blurb and someone says something and you change it, whatever, we all have said a word or something where it's like, hey, that actually the language, the history behind that phrase or whatever is.
There are many times when I'm in a vlog and I kind of go on a ramble and I'm like, no, that comes off offensive. I don't want to leave that in. So I like say it out loud to remind myself to take it out. Because I don't want to leave.
I've definitely edited out things where I was like, I don't know how that could be taken. Like, let's just skip it. Let's just.
Well, and I remember in like 2020 and 2021 where they were like, here's all of these like random things that people have been saying, like children's rhymes and things around holidays and like how all of these have like really bad historical
connotations to them.
Yeah. And it's like, you don't know what you don't know. But if someone's going to tell you and then you're going to double, triple down because, my friend said, and it's like, okay, well, your friend is not a monolith.
And your friend is doing you a disservice. And like, and also, I mean, that's not even like our conversation to have, but ultimately, like, if your friend is going against the general consensus of their community to be like, no, you're fine, you can do whatever you want. Like, that's not good. That's not
Well,
great.
and I've done sensitivity reading, and like given feedback on things before. And I feel like as somebody who, if you are going to be doing that, I think it's really important to be honest and be like, this is my personal experience. I
Right.
cannot speak for every person who
Right.
has UC and Crohn's. Like, I can't. Here's my experience.
Right.
Here's how I felt about it. There are going to be people who might not have experienced that or experienced
Right.
something else and might not feel like this is like I can only give my. And so to be that person that's like, nah, it's cool. Like, I could never be like that steadfast and be like, no, it's totally 100% acceptable always.
Morgan's comment has the institute though.
But and the thing about that is, right, that's the general consensus of the community as a whole.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not that it's a monolith or that no Black person has ever agreed with Candace Owens. It's that generally speaking, you are not going to earn any points if you're like, oh, Candace Owens says. But again, like, I give so much grace to you. If you didn't know, you say you didn't know, you change it, and you don't do it again.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for more than that. If you can have a huge mess up, right? And if you're like, I'm so sorry, here's how I'm going to fix it. It's not going to happen again. I'm sorry. And then you fix it and it doesn't happen again. I believe you.
Yeah.
If you have so many reasons and excuses and you are thanking the people who stood beside you and supported you and completely not even acknowledging like the people that you harmed, I don't care if you do fix that book. I'm not reading you anymore because of the way you handled it. So much of it is just how you handle it because we're all going to mess up in one area or another. It doesn't matter how privileged or how marginalized you are. You don't know everything about everyone, and you are also not a perfect person. Like, you can be not problematic, but you can also be a jerk at some point, you know? Like, you're gonna mess up. And is it a pattern of behavior, and how do you fix it when you mess up? That's all I want to know, really.
It's weird. It's like, you're allowed to make a mistake and you're allowed to grow from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you actively choose not to learn from the experience, you're making a choice.
Right.
And I feel like, Heather, you've brought this up multiple times, that it's like, I understand that your gut reaction is going to be defense. Like, that is a natural human reaction. Defense mechanisms turn on right away.
Right.
But don't post to the internet then. Like, give yourself like 24 hours to let that like.
The problem is that I feel like people are like, you haven't responded yet, and it turns into this whole cycle
totally
of
fair.
like, you didn't respond fast enough, thus you're the problem. And it's like, no, I'm trying to not go with my gut reflex, which is defensive, to acknowledge the mistake. Like,
I will.
Instead, we end up going around 2 or 3 times because then they have to come back around and be like, I'm sorry, I went with my first gut thing, which was defense. Which
right. So in those instances, it's easier for an author to say, okay, thank you for pointing it out. Let me take it under advisement and let you know.
Yeah, I definitely agree that there has become this like, because the internet is instantaneous, everyone should have the perfect response instantly.
Yeah.
Instead of giving somebody, okay, like they just saw their feelings are hurt right now because they realize they messed up and they need time to process that emotion for a second and then say something that isn't
right.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder when you have more eyes on you, right?
Oh, 100%.
But then also, I am never trying to, and there's so much of this work, of your own emotional work that you need to do before that moment, or not in that moment. Like, you need to just do it as you go along. but I'm not trying to convince my haters of, I'm sure there's many, I don't know. I'm not trying to convince my haters that I am a good person and I was genuinely, mistaken, or it was just a misunderstanding or what have you. I'm trying to convince the people who are already giving me the benefit of the doubt, that already like me in a lot of ways, that already like me, but are just like, hey, you shouldn't have said that, or what have you. I'm trying to convince them that I'm not going to hurt them on purpose again, now that I know that that thing happened, right? Because you can be the most genuine, the person that the most people in the world like, and there are still a lot of people who absolutely are convinced that because of the way you closed that door over there, you hate everything that they stand for, right? Like, there are some people you just can't convince. So you're not really trying to go to the extremes, the people who think that you can do no wrong and the people who think you can do no right. You're trying to just appeal to the person in between.
Or the person you hurt, so that you
Right.
can say, like, look, I acknowledge that I hurt you, and I
Right.
am deeply, and here is how I'm going to change that. You don't
Right.
have to forgive me, but I want you to know that I am.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's harder when it's your livelihood. You know what I mean? Like, as an author, you're like, oh my God, like this is my livelihood, this is my readership.
Yeah,
But
there's a lot of panic when it comes to financial
yeah.
security.
But for like as a creator, I'm like, if you don't, I mean, if you don't like me, that's okay.
Right.
If you don't like me, you don't like me, and that's okay.
That's fair. I mean,
It's why like snark pages exist and all the different things where
yeah.
people talk crap.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's fine. Like that's natural. It's human nature, right? You're
Yeah.
gonna not like somebody, and sometimes you want to talk about it, and you just can't take it personally because like that's the choice being made
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And like after a certain scale, like people just hate on people for one, having fun or enjoying themselves, but 2
Mhm.
just for managing a success that others did not. At
Exactly.
the end of the day, often
100%.
I feel like.
For sure.
100%.
So, like Kristen Ashley, I don't think she needs to change her writing for the people who one star literally every single one of her books and talk about how much they hate her characters and her writing style and how problematic she is and all the things. But then when you have your readers who like your work and are like, "Hey, could we just update this language? Like, I am just asking for an update." I know, which they don't answer any of their comments on Instagram, I don't think. And again, like, I don't even think it's Kristen Ashley that sees the comments. I'm pretty sure it is like personal assistants and stuff. But like, I've left comments being like, "Hey, I hope we update the band name so it doesn't have the G slur anymore since we know better." Like, I've left comments, which have not gotten answered. But like, I don't know, like you could make adjustments for people who actually like your work, like based on their feedback.
Yeah. Especially with self-pubbed.
Right.
Yeah.
You have control.
You have full, that's why you went this route.
Right.
Full control over your body of literature.
Right. I don't know. Again, cop stuff, all of that is very much part of romantic suspense. Kristen Ashley is not by any means the only offender in that if you're reading romantic suspense, you're going to read military, ex-military, cop, ex-cop, like that's pretty much your male characters, never mind heroes. But I think that you can see progress in her books over time, but this is a lot. And I think if we continued the series, there would have been many more.
And that's just it. Like, we all have evolved in the last, 15 to 17 years since these were beginning to be written,
Right.
as has society. And so it's not that we're trying to cancel this author. That's not what this video is about.
Right.
Like, I still love Kristen Ashley. I still own books of hers. I will continue to still read Kristen Ashley. Like,
Right.
this experience isn't going to stop me from doing that. It's
Right.
just this didn't age well. We need to move forward.
Yeah.
And it's not that the series is necessarily bad. It just didn't age well through the lens of what we look at in society now. So I hope people don't take this video as we're trying to cancel an author, because that's not what we're trying
Right.
to do here.
Yeah.
The read along canceled. The author, no.
Right. And I think if
Author
there's
not canceled. Author tried to do their best in the time that they were writing it. So
yeah.
As a reader, we get the choice to choose what it is that we want to consume. So
Yeah.
if we decide that something at this point in time is not for us,
Right.
it's not necessarily a reflection on the author or the book series. When you go, okay, well, this is when it was written, but I don't need to read it now if I don't want to.
Right.
It's like the whole, they give every single one of their books 1 star. You don't have to keep reading it at any
No.
point. You just put it down. Not for you, not for me.
You don't even have to go anywhere near it. You don't even have to think about picking it up.
Just
Yeah.
never think about it again.
If an author is not for me, chances are good I'm not even finishing one of their books. Never mind, like, continuing to pick up.
right. One thing Izzy helped me do when I was out in Tennessee visiting her, I made a DNF graveyard in my journal. So in the back of my journal, I have like this, I'm drawing a little grave and putting a picture of every book I DNF this year.
Yeah.
Because I don't actively DNF often. And I've realized I need to do that more for myself.
I love DNFing. I love just like picking something up and being like, no, I don't want that. Like, just put it away.
Mm-hmm.
It immediately leaves my brain, so I can't even tell you what I've DNF'd because I just put it down and never pick it back up again.
That's why I have
It goes into my little
front
my
cover.
spreadsheet as a DNF.
Sometimes I will, but sometimes I'll just start reading something and I'll be like, I don't want this right now.
Well, like,
That's not-
a
I don't
soft
consider
DNF
that a
is different
DNF.
than like a hard DNF. Like, I'm not going to pick this up again.
I do have a DNF shelf, which I've started doing because I've definitely made the mistake of DNFing something and just removing it from my books and then picking it up again later and being like, wait a minute.
No, the DNF shelf is
Yep.
very necessary.
So necessary.
Yeah.
Because there's
Like,
nothing worse than DNFing a book a second time accidentally.
Right. Like, why is this ebook opening at 30%?
Why is it already at 10%? That's my favorite.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you DNF'd this and did not mark it.
Right. Why does this seem really familiar?
Yeah, so I love this. Morgan has a DNF and then a plan to come back.
Yeah, I have an on hold
Mhm.
shelf where I put things where it's like, this got returned to the library, or it wasn't like,
Or I wasn't
Yeah.
feeling this,
That
but
I
I'm
wasn't-
still
yeah.
interested.
yeah.
Same. I just say that.
But
If I'm not
maybe
feeling
I'll-
and still interested, I throw it back on my TBR pile. But if I'm like a good bit through and I need to do something else and it's bugging me, that's on my currently reads.
Yep. I just
goes
pop
on
it
my
over.
old
Yeah.
shelf.
I have object permanent. It will legitimately, even if I'm like, oh, I'll come back to it, my brain immediately is like, this book no longer exists.
I've definitely, like,
I'm
the
not
number of
involved
times
enough, so-
that I've remembered A Turn in the Air is becoming shameful.
No, man, you play peekaboo with me, I genuinely think that you are just gone from the earth. So, like,
Yeah.
That is why I keep my currently reading shelf very tiny on Goodreads as much as I can.
Yeah.
I think I still have like 40 something books, but I also haven't touched my Goodreads in a very long time.
My anxiety,
Megan.
my heart rate just like spiked.
Same. I was just like, I
I need to
don't
like,
even have and I don't like it.
I
even
sat
have
and
books that I
wrote
currently reading,
NetGalley
but I
reviews
finished-
today, but I still need to sit and write my Goodreads reviews.
I have like 3 books on here that I've actually finished reading. That's kind of hilarious.
Megan.
Megan,
I told you I have not.
you're
I
gonna
have not-
break the 2 other ADHD people.
My brain's just like glitching over here.
I know. Me and Robert are like, what? No.
Yeah, no.
No.
That's fine. I just don't never look at Megan's Goodreads at
It's
all,
very.
ever.
I don't.
To be
We
fair, I
just
don't
drag
have
her on a
anyone else
live
who-
and make her pull it up, and we'll just roast her the whole time.
Let's see. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Don't
9.
count them.
I don't know if Megan
Please don't
can
count.
emotionally handle it. if we
Probably not.
So I just looked at my currently reading. I've read all of them. I just need to write their reviews. So I will do that within the next couple of days, I promise.
I think I have 40 books currently on.
Hey,
My
May,
go-to
it
reading.
worked. It worked. You've kept up with it.
You are so welcome.
See, what would happen is I would just be sad and just like private my Goodreads and then still do nothing about it.
Well, and the thing is, if it doesn't bother you, then
It
it's
does not.
fine. But
It
stop. telling me
honestly
about
makes me
it.
feel even better because it tortures y'all.
It does.
Like one of those, it's like one of those harmless
Just don't
pranks,
look at
like
it.
the ideal
It
type of prank.
does. I feel like the tightness, like right here. Like,
Only bugs me when you mention it. So
I had somebody share their computer screen in a work meeting today, and their entire desktop was covered. Covered, and not folders, images. Just
Images? Okay, look, I'm not that bad, okay?
whole- And I was
That's
just
a
like, I was like,
monster.
I'm about to leave this meeting. I was like, I cannot
that
with
is
you.
a
I was like, fix that.
monster.
I was like,
Like, if nothing else,
No.
I at least just make a folder and just throw them all into that folder.
I was like, make an archive folder, just dump them all in there. What are you doing? But I was
Nope.
like, I'm about to click out of this meeting right now.
different people's brains. They probably don't even consider that.
He was like, oh, my
So
desktop.
much
And I
visual
was just
clutter.
like,
It's how I feel when people share their screens and they have like 40 tabs open, and I'm just like, how, what?
that's how
And
my
then
brain works, but
they don't know what is where.
I
So they're
know.
like, I need to show you this page, and they clip through like 18 tabs, and I'm like, you can just close these tabs.
close
Or
off.
they could just open another window to put the things they needed into it.
Yeah, that would
Listen,
also have
people,
worked.
Not everyone knows.
In defense of tabs, I always have lots open on my work computer because it's never ending with the things that need to be opened. But I know what everything is.
I
But
will.
do
And I
you, but
know
do you
it's-
then
unlike my
share it
colleagues
with
who
people
don't.
and just click through everything?
I do end up with like.
No. I'd open a separate window just for that.
Thank you. That's the thing. I'm just like, why are
Just
you
so
doing
you open a separate window
on a
when you're doing
screen
that, so you
share?
don't have to show
Like,
everyone
don't-
your mess.
hide your
Sometimes I'll lose
shame?
my
Don't do this on a screen
terminal.
share.
Yeah. If I lose my terminals, I'll just open up a new one. But then at the end of every single week, I close all. Because there will be stale ones there that haven't been used in 4 days.
Yes,
This
Morgan.
is my phone.
My
It
mom
drives
does
my
this to my
husband
grandma. My mom will take my grandma's phone
Why
and
is
start
it so
exiting out.
slow? Have you seen what you've done to your phone?
And I'm over
The amount
here
of-
like
The amount of folders I have that's just like desktop things, and I just throw things in there.
listen, my hard drive for content is very organized. It does have just a folder on it called like random shit that I will like drop like all the phone content, or if I want to clear my SD card and I'm like terrified of losing it, I'll like throw it in there.
Mhm.
And then I occasionally open it and I'm like, that footage is 6 months old. I don't think I need it anymore, and delete it.
Right.
But
That's
I
fine.
cannot. Digital clutter bugs me though.
Same.
Well, I'm happy for all of you and your technology organization.
Mm-hmm.
Heather just deletes them.
Heather's desktop is just files.
Oh no, my desktop is nothing.
Yeah, like she
Same.
deletes everything.
I don't
Literally
do
was like,
on
I have
mine.
uploaded this thing, everything's gone.
Yep.
This
Yes,
is true.
that's correct. It doesn't even go to my computer at all because I just edit it on my phone and then save on my phone and then upload from my phone and then I delete it.
You're a monster.
I know. I can't imagine.
I was
that
gonna say,
being-
like, after mine's been up for like a month, I usually end up deleting it.
Oh, really? I delete mine right away. As soon as
my
it's
hard drive
uploaded,
forever.
I delete it off my hard drive. Like,
I
The
delete as soon
amount-
as it's uploaded. Done. Bye.
see, I
amount of
can't
footage I
quite
have
do
on
that
my
because I've had
cloud-
some times where, like, after it's uploaded, like something goes wrong. So I
No,
can't quite do that.
I
to
literally,
myself.
my hard drive is dated October 2023, and I'll put a date on it when it's done. I've got like a hard drive that, well, actually, it's not even plugged in right now, so
Yeah,
Yeah, go on.
I don't do that.
I have an archive. Because here's the thing: everything on the internet isn't forever. So if I ever want something off of these,
Right.
I still have the footage.
Right.
Because technically, the internet is degrading at a rate that we can't keep up with, and everything we're doing right now is going to be lost forever. It's fine.
Probably
fine.
sooner
I
rather
think
than
fine.
later.
Yeah.
I think I'm just like I'm like, okay, it's gone.
I figure at that point it's okay. I can just start over and have fresh new content and fresh new ideas for everything.
Well, listen,
So
there's
it's
footage in
fine.
there that I want, like of my animals and just different trips and stuff, though. So.
Right. I save my trip stuff like in a folder. Like those don't go away. But like my everyday stuff, I write
Not
about it.
me.
It's fine.
I assume if I want to see it, I can search it on YouTube and watch my own
One
video.
day you won't be able to.
That's right. Oh well.
I'm not joking. Like it really is.
I've messed up a video that it's uploaded before, and I just deleted it. Like,
Fair.
I believe it.
like, okay.
May is right.
That also
Isabel
feels
takes
like
her
a
hard
Heather
drives
move.
very seriously.
My
All right.
work stuff.
Does
is
anyone
back.
have anything left to say about Rock Chick?
No.
Read along.
So join us for our Liz Tomford read along next. I'm just playing.
You did not.
You watched
Oh
Romance
my
Lady, in which I
God.
declared these people
Oh man.
enemies.
my goodness.
I do want to know what happened to her deal though. I won't lie. I'm
So
like,
first topic in this month's Romance Landia.
like, I just want to
You got
know
the
who pulled
deets?
the plug.
Yes.
No, I
And
don't have the
why.
deets. I'm just saying it's the first topic we talk about.
When's it
There are
going
no
up?
deets. It's not available publicly.
No, it's not.
Oh, Jack, don't get me started on Miss Liz. Is where we're
Is it
at.
going up
This
tomorrow,
is-
Izzy?
This is the
I'll send you it.
case
It goes
of
up Sunday.
if you are well enough equipped to be a white author writing Black characters to get a publishing deal out of it,
Six
then
figure.
you should be well enough equipped to know better than
Six
to do it.
figure.
Like,
Okay,
if you
but
would do
also,
it, then you have
details
to
I
do
did not
that.
share that make it even worse if you didn't know. It's based off this guy, Evander Kane, who has like domestic assault charges, abuse charges, all these things on him. Like that's who the hero in the first book is based off. So that's who you picked? Is
No,
this
I don't
guy
know
who's like
anything about that.
bad news, it sounds like? And then she also was a flight attendant for a hockey team
Yeah.
and based it off her experience. And I didn't know that. And I was just like, I'm out. This is even worse.
Right.
And like, I get like the whole write what you know thing,
Mhm.
but it's kind of weird. It's a
Yeah.
little self-inserty.
Like, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. But just a little weird for me. I don't know. I just got more uncomfortable, which I didn't think was possible.
I did
Than how
not
I
know that it
felt.
was based off of somebody.
Yeah. When I looked him up, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that was one thing. I did not know that going in either.
Oh, you guys didn't know. See, I only heard like about the controversy of it. Like I
Well, I
was
read it
I haven't gone anywhere near it.
before all of that. Because
right.
I read it like before she got the book deal. I read it before all of that because I had been going to do a like people's favorites of the year. It's one of the reasons why that video got canceled because that was on there. And so I was reading that in like December, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute.
Wait a second.
It's like, no one said anything about this.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I found out about who it was based on, I just was like,
Yeah.
yikes. I
And
know
then-
it's the same thing because like you're keyed into hockey. Yikes.
Yeah. But like then when it all came out, that's when I was like, okay, this whole video is now, because there was other issues with it, but it was like this whole thing is now trash.
Right.
It was like maybe a couple of weeks after I'd read that the whole book deal thing got announced,
Mm-hmm.
and then it got real weird real fast.
It sure did.
It really did.
But yeah, it's pretty amazing how if you look back at some of those early recommendations, that information is straight up left out.
Oh, and I can think of their excuses for why they didn't mention it, and I just want to throw things.
Well, so many people are like, I didn't even notice. And I was like,
That's a problem.
Right.
That
Okay.
will make it better.
That's why
That's not the excuse you think it is.
public.
I know. It just threw.
I don't think
throws
that
me every
means what
time.
you think it means, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
No.
And in the one book I did read, it's pretty clear. Not like that like constantly mentioned, but it's pretty clear that he's
It's often enough, yeah.
like or he's mixed. I think they're biracial, but either way,
Yep.
it's there.
Right.
choices were made, and they were not good choices.
No. And then again, that's like the defense of it is almost worse than the original offense.
And my question is, when it got picked up, who the hell read it at that publishing house and thought that that was a good idea?
I mean, in my opinion, publishing is even
Honestly,
more
I think they just saw
behind.
what was trending on TikTok and they reached out. I really think that's as far as it
I
went.
think it's
Oh, yeah.
And I'm guessing the reason why it got canceled is because they then read it and read all the controversy and said, we don't want a deal.
No, I think it got canceled because of the just the amount of backlash it got, period. Like as soon as that was announced and it was going to come out in February and all that, like
Yeah.
that's the heart of it. I'm sure she still got money though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, they pushed it to March, but it's canceled now. So like as soon as people started fussing, they pushed it to March like really quickly.
Mhm.
Well, that's because it was
And picking February, which is Black
so
History Month.
egregious. Yeah.
Yes.
It's just like, I don't know.
And
It's
sometimes
wild
it just
to
like
me.
were any thoughts had in the whole
Right.
process. Like, was one thought shared amongst anybody?
Well, again, that's where like you have all of the decision makers are completely out of the loop and unaware and don't even like factor that in, you know? And when no one in the room even has the awareness of it, then you can't even raise the flag because you don't even have anybody in the room that knows.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Like, I'm the biggest trad publishing romance cynic around at the minute, but this is why.
Yeah.
Because it's like somebody go, what was the conversation?
Yeah.
The bar for society is so low that for publishing to just like dig under the bar and be constantly lower than you would even expect is insane. It's ridiculous.
It is.
This comment makes me laugh because I was just reading a book set in Chicago and I was like, has this person ever been to Chicago?
Okay, but like same. Like I feel like it's like the new hot city, and I'm like, what is going on? It was an
Because I-
expensive city previously.
I live just about an hour away from Chicago. We go to Chicago a lot.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, has this person ever been in Chicago? Like,
They went
what do
once
you
they
have?
saw the bean, and then they were like,
Yeah.
I now know Chicago.
I'm like,
I like the architecture in Chicago. It reminded me of Melbourne. I think we're sister cities technically, but
I was like, I'm pretty sure, yeah, you guys have really similar architecture. But I'm
I
just like,
do.
I don't think this person's ever. I don't think they know what Chicago's like. Because it's more than the downtown. I need you to know this.
I don't know.
it's like every major city. There's more than just the thing that you see on the screen. On
Right?
TV.
Like, I know you see some really tall buildings when you Google pictures of it, but there's more. It goes on.
Heaven forbid, there's
Oh my
actual
God.
suburbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How dangerous it is. I'm just like, well, yeah. There's like,
Oh, that part always like, yeah.
I'm like,
I
there's
know.
how many people living there?
Yeah. My
Statistically,
dad lived in Chicago for years. Like
speaking.
it's fine.
But also, like, it's fine. I was in like Chicago as a teen, going to concerts. It's fine. I was fine.
Right?
It's
People
fine.
always ask me, they're like, were you allowed to go downtown? Yeah.
Literally, we just got dropped off at the venue, like, and went to a punk
my
show,
parents
and
would
then
just
got picked
drop me
up.
off.
Nobody cared.
Bye.
That's wild. That's
We
something.
have some friends down there and they have 2 young kids. And we had somebody out there like, do you guys feel safe? And I'm like, in a city with millions of people.
Oh my word.
Millions of people live there. I don't know if you know this, but
Right. They keep on living. They're not all
keep
wiped
on living.
out on a daily basis.
You only hear about it because there are, in fact, millions of people living there.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's me.
That's how I feel about living in a city, too. I'm like, there's noise. People can hear me. I'm way safer than in the middle of nowhere.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, like I live rural, but I also have neighbors still.
Yeah.
And I'm still close to stuff. It's like the best of both worlds. And I'm like, if I go outside and scream, somebody will hear me. It's fine.
Right.
I'm in the burbs.
Yeah, I mean,
And I also think that it's just the fact that sometimes the country is significantly more safe for white people than it is for
100%.
And I mean, if you look at ratio, that's the bigger deal is you
Right.
would have how many million people living in Chicago
Right.
versus, you know, Naperville that has a couple thousand people. You know what? Guess what? Your ratio is going to be very different.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I still would choose to live in Chicago over fucking Naperville.
Hey, don't knock it. I didn't live in Naperville. I lived outside Naperville, but
My husband's family is from Naperville.
well, I went to high school the town over, so in
Yeah.
Plainfield. But Plainfield was tiny when I went there. But it was also really mixed because a lot of my friends were from Cicero. So go figure. Because all their
As a
families
person who
moved
lives in
out.
Texas, this all means nothing to me.
I've lived too many places is the problem.
Steph,
but, like,
more so. Steph's not even in.
I know. Stuff's like, I don't know.
Naperville is
Bad
one of
enough
the
with geography as it
whitest
is.
communities I've ever been to.
It is. I don't disagree. Like, from what I remember of it, it was very, like, what the fuck? But yeah, like,
Yeah,
it was
is
funny
just-
because
there is
all
a
my friends
country
were, like,
club
people of
there.
color. Oh, yeah, 100%.
There's a country club there.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
all we
every
really need to
single
know.
one of my high school friends was not white, which is like also hilarious because Naperville was right there. I was like, I don't know how this happened or where this, why y'all moved out to the burbs, but here we are in the burbs.
It was very. I went there for some like golf thing that his grandfather was in, but I grew up in the city of Milwaukee, and so all of a sudden I'm just in Naperville. I'm just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, you're like,
You have a country club? You go to it?
Why?
Sounds terrible.
It does, in all seriousness. All right.
it's funny.
We
Join some of us for the new Alana Andrews series that's coming out.
well, I was reading about it on their blog today or yesterday, and they're trying to get it traditionally published. So it depends on if someone picks it up. If someone picks it up, we'll probably get it in 2025. And if they don't, then we'll get it fall or winter 2024. But obviously, I want them to have the success of getting it picked up. So
I just want them to release something this year.
I know,
I
right?
still think we'll get a Kate Daniels book this year.
Well, yeah, I was reading that, and then I was also reading about how they want to do the Iron and Magic one. They want to market that as a traditionally published fantasy romance and put out the second book in the duology, is what they were saying.
They'll have to rework that based on the new timeline
I know.
because it doesn't fit anymore.
But also, we'll be back at some point, all of us, with a favorite book club somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes, somebody's channel.
Yeah.
I will disappear into the ether.
Whoever picks the book first gets to host it.
Yep.
Right.
Everyone go read One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns.
Everyone read fantasy romance.
Or When Blood Meets Earth and or Dark City Omega. There you go.
I checked out Dark City Omega from my library, so I'm going to be doing that.
I do have Dark City Omega out.
I am really thinking about doing Dnfing.
I'm not surprised.
Oh, no.
It's not Heather's book at all.
Shock. Shock.
I missed this.
You guys have
title,
obviously
so
thought
I
about
will
this,
have
and I
to
have
check it out.
totally not paid attention.
Dark City Omega is a Omegaverse with by a Black author with a Black.
Morgan says it is only for the brave.
Oh my word!
I mean, Omegaverse. That's how I feel about a lot of like hard, like real solid Omegaverse. Though I feel like you gotta be kind of brave.
Yeah,
It's definitely a lot. It
That's
is definitely
okay.
ridiculous, but it's
I can
accessible.
handle real life Omegaverse. So I'm over here reading Bride like, people are calling this Omegaverse. This is not Omegaverse.
Bride is not Omegaverse.
No.
What's
It-
not Omega?
It is. It has
Bride.
nodding, but it is not Omegaverse.
Right. It's not.
I
not
call
very-
it. I'm calling it like you want to try something that's close. Go for this if you're scared.
Mhm.
Like start there.
It was girls.
I think it's going to be a lot of people's introduction to these things.
Which is
that
why
are
I
in
liked the
Omegaverse.
fake mate a little bit better than I liked
That one was actually
Bride
Omegaverse,
because
yeah.
it was actually Omegaverse and it made
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I had
I-
my
I'm not-
Omega
I got
booster.
3 sentences into the fake mate and was like, nope, this is not what I want right now. And
That book
It
is
just went away.
ridiculous. It's
It went
absolutely ridiculous.
back to the library.
That's fair.
Yeah. Well,
So clearly, we have no idea what book we'll be reading next, but that's fine. We'll sort it out later.
We'll figure it out.
That we will.
hints are good that Kathy Yardley will show up, though.
I bet
I've
that's
got the
less
arc for
blame.
the new Kathy Yardley, so I
Yeah.
am stoked.
Although I feel like we have to do it after publication so that
Yeah.
other people have a better chance of
I
participating.
mean, we
Person
can
who does
always
not have
like
arcs, yes.
pre-record it and have it go up somewhere on release day. Like,
Yeah, that's also true.
just saying.
Just saying. It's an option. All
If we
right.
get a Canterbury book this year, that could also be another option.
A what?
Mhm.
Kate Canterbury.
Oh, yeah. True. Too true. So, anyways, if you guys in the chat, if you have any requests now or in the future for a live show about any specific book that appeals to the majority of us, apparently.
I am reading in a jam.
You are part of it, May.
I do like In a Jam.
In a Jam was cute.
But yeah, so
remember
if we don't have any read-alongs going along, and the next read-along that I have is fantasy, and will probably be a majority, if not completely different group of people. We want to do some live shows for random favorites that we're all reading anyways. So, if you have any requests, you can always leave it on any of our channels or our DMs. So, and apparently everyone's going to reread In a Jam, except for me. I'm not. So.
I still haven't
Leave
read
Rex
it,
on my
so-
channel so that I get notifications because I think that would be entertaining. So entertaining.
Just pick a random video.
Just pick a random video.
Right.
Look, it's not like my reading journal month is inspired by In a Jam at all, by any stretch this month.
It's not like that.
I love it.
It's a coincidence.
So it looks like our first one will just be us gushing and rereading In a Jam.
Oh, darn.
Terrible things we do.
I mean,
Such
I
a
will be
terrible
reading it for the
first
first time, so I would be down for that discussion.
Oh, sweet.
There you go. That's a good one.
I'm down. This is my year of rereads, so I'm super down.
I love that for you.
Yeah. Members get a vlog from me sometime in March. We'll see. It's long. I'll probably start it early because it is long. So I'm
It is.
excited.
It is long, but it's also very readable, I feel like.
It's cute.
So, just depends on how well it works for you or not. But all right, we're ending here.
Yeah, we gotta go. It's getting late. I'm sleepy.